Five and below. 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 We're getting ready to sew. On y'all, let's get ready to sew.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. My name is Talisha and I also go by CreativiTeeByT, and welcome to the first episode of the series titled 5 and Below. If you are new to watching the channel, I welcome you and I hope you consider subscribing, and thank you to all of my new and returning subscribers for coming back and for your support. So today I will be sharing look number 1 of 5 for the 5 and Below series that is being hosted by myself and Rochelle of Rochelle.handmade.designs. If you are not aware of what the 5 and Below series is, I will tell you a little bit about it. This is a series that starts today and it ends on Sunday, April 10th, where Rochelle of Rochelle.handmade.designs and I have collaborated to showcase a total of 10 patterns with the finished garments that will only require 5 pattern pieces or less to make your finished product, but you will still look absolutely fabulous. So I am going to present 5 patterns and Rochelle will present 5 patterns, and we will present one each Sunday for the duration of the series, which gives you a total of 10 patterns to use as inspiration for quick sewing projects. And the posting locations and times are going to be on YouTube and Instagram at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we just feel like bringing this series is a way for us to inspire you to sew simple, basic, and or quick projects and heighten the looks by making them fashionable with minimal sew time, especially if you are a very busy person and or a beginner that needs more simple projects, or if you just want simple projects. So if you feel inspired, please join in on the fun and post your looks on Instagram and or YouTube, and use the hashtag sewing5andbelow so that we can find your makes and we can shout you out in our videos and on Instagram once we see them. But just watching, commenting, or anything of that nature is also good support. So thank you. So that is just a little rundown of the series. There is more information about this, so I will link to the official announcement video in the cards above and in the description box below, so that you can go ahead and click on that and you can watch it so that you can get more information about this if this is your first time hearing about it, because like I said, there is much more, and I will also put it on the end cards. So back to my make. Today's make is my first contribution out of the 5 that I'm going to be making for the 5 and Below series, and Rochelle and I both made jackets, and I made this wrap jacket by using Simplicity 9189. Now I want you to take a good look at this jacket, and just by observing this, please type in the comments below how many pattern pieces you think it would take to make this, and keep your comment in the comment section, and I'll give you a few seconds to type it in. All right, this wrap jacket only required 3 pattern pieces to make. Yes, 3. Tell me that isn't awesome, right? Now, if you typed in a different number than 3, go ahead and keep it in the comments, because I'm going to use participation throughout the series for my giveaway prize package at the end. So even if your answer is wrong, it still counts as participation, and I'm going to do that throughout the whole entire series. So now that I have shared how many pattern pieces this pattern requires, I will explain why I picked this pattern. I picked Simplicity 9189, which is a wrap jacket, as my jacket of choice, because everything that I plan to make for this series is geared towards spring, and I thought this would be an excellent transitional layering piece that is not only not too heavy, but it's not too light. It has good length options and good sleeve options, so I thought this would be perfect. Another reason why I picked this is because I've been really drawn to the shawl type of detail on garments. I made a jumpsuit that has this shawl look and I absolutely loved it. It was a McCall's pattern. So when I was looking through the patterns and I noticed this one, I immediately put this in my cart. So now let's talk about my experience while making this pattern. Again, I made Simplicity 9189 and the description is Mrs. Wrap Jacket. So there are 3 different views to this pattern. View A, which is what I made, has long sleeves and the length is the longest of all of the views. View B has 3/4 sleeves and the length is like 5 inches shorter than view A, and view C is sleeveless, so it just kind of sits on you like a shawl with the bodice in the back but it does have the same length as view A, so it's long too. So view B is going to be the only view that is short, but if you want the longer length, you can always just add the longer length and keep your 3/4 sleeves. Again, I made view A, and the fabric recommendations for this pattern are going to be your stretch knits only, such as sweater knits, buckle, ponte, jersey, and stretch velvet. And the sewing skill level is not rated. However, I think an advanced beginner level skill or higher would be appropriate to make this. I was hoping that it would be like super beginner friendly, but it is not, because you do have to use ribbon to make the wrap closure, and you need to make 3 buttonholes inside of the ribbon in order to close it off. And you also have to put buttons on the garment, and I just think a brand new beginner or one that has not mastered buttons would not be comfortable with that. But I know Deborah of the Sewing Nook is a beginner who has put in a lot of practice, so I will call her an advanced beginner, and she has been making like beautiful dresses with buttons and buttonholes, so I think others could be comfortable too that are advanced beginners. But like I said, brand new beginner, probably not, because brand new beginners typically are only making like pullover and slip-on type garments. But the pattern pieces, again, there are 3 pattern pieces that you would need to make this, and those pattern pieces are going to be your front and collar, and that's all one piece. You will also need the back, and you also have the pattern piece for the sleeves, and that's for view A and for view B. So if you're trying to make view C, you will only need 2 pattern pieces, which is going to be your front and collar, which is all one piece, and your back. The notions that you need is going to be your thread, 2 3/4 inch to 1 inch buttons, and note this, the pattern does not state this. You will also need 9 1/4 inches of grosgrain ribbon. Okay, I don't understand how this could be something that's required to finish this garment, but it's not listed in the notions, and I do think ribbon is a notion. Is it, or is it not? But yeah, you will need that. So the pattern sizing comes in extra small through extra extra large, and the size extra extra large has a finished bust measurement of 48 inches. The size that I cut was the extra large because I fell within those finished garment measurements that were provided, and it did fit well. It does fit well in my opinion, and it helps that the fabric has some stretch to it. I do feel like overall my garment, my wrap jacket, looks like the models on the pattern cover and the instructions. Do you want to know if they were easy to follow?
No.
I hate to say that. This is the kickoff of the Five Below series, and I just wanted everything to be positive, but I have to be truthful to you all. Absolutely not. For this garment to be so easy to construct, this pattern gave terrible instructions in my opinion. And you know, I just feel like they hired the intern that really didn't know verbiage and had them piece this manual together. So let's talk about it. This pattern used verbiage that I have not read before within pattern instructions, and I am the type of person that if something is throwing me off, I put it to the side until I can figure it out, because I just want to understand. Like, I just can't move on. So the first issue that I had with the verbiage was right smack dab in the beginning. Like, I couldn't even get started good. It's like, can I at least get going with the project good before I stumble upon a problem, you know? Like, if it hadn't been for the fact that I had picked this out and had cut it out because this fabric was expensive, I probably would have just changed the pattern. But the issue was with step number 2 to start with, and it says to stitch 3/8 inch from neck edge on front extension and along the seam line of the shoulder, blah blah blah, right? So I'm looking at it like, what am I stitching? What am I going to stitch it to? Because the photos aren't showing 2 different pattern pieces and it's not naming 2 pattern pieces. So I studied the photo and I still couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be stitching it to. I just couldn't figure it out. So then I looked at the glossary from the instruction guides to see what their definition of stitch was, and it read that stitch means to stitch 5/8 seams unless otherwise stated. So that's not matching up. That didn't help. So here I am at the beginning thinking that I am going to just whip this up in no time because it's only 3 pattern pieces and I don't even understand the verbiage, right? So I put it down because it was late, and when I got up the next morning, I decided to just work around it and figure it out later. So I completed the steps of making like the buttonholes on the ribbon and on the jacket, and then I came to another issue with the directions. And in the beginning, it has you to make the buttonhole on the sweater where the buttonhole marking is, so I did that. But when I looked back at the illustration, the buttonhole was on the opposite side of the inverted pleat than what mine was. So I pulled out my pattern piece to see if I transferred my markings correctly, and I did. But the hole on the illustration was still on the opposite side, so I didn't open up the buttonhole because I didn't know if it was going to turn out okay. Come to find out, the marking for the buttonhole is okay. It's just that it looks wrong on the actual illustration that's on the directions. So you think if you're a person that goes by imagery and pictures, you're going to think you're doing it wrong because you're interfacing a buttonhole is going to be on the opposite side. But it turned out to be fine. So once I finished that part, I kept moving on to the next steps, and I came across the statement machine stitch 3/8 from back neck edge. Okay, just like the first one. And then it says to pin the front to the back of the shoulder seams and stitch from whatever, blah 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 blah. At that point I was annoyed, so I put it down and I called simplicity. And then it turns out that their verbiage stitch and machine stitch is the same as what stay stitching is. I was like, what? When she explained to me, oh no, because when you're working with knits, you have to stitch along the neckline so it doesn't stretch. I said, you mean stay stitch? So yeah, I was just okay. So I would have never picked that up from stay stitching. I mean, I would have never picked stitch and machine stitch up to be stay stitching. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm being slow, okay? Because I can take the criticism, but that just didn't connect to me. So, when I asked her, what did that mean? She said, just a single stitch so that your fabric won't stretch in that area. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I have never read it like that on any pattern that I've ever worked with. So my brain was just like stuck because I didn't understand what they meant, and I didn't want to mess up my fabric, making a mistake and unpicking, because knit can easily be damaged by unpicking and snagging the fabric, and I didn't want to do that. So anyway, I figured it out so that you won't have to go through that should you make this pattern, because it is very easy. But like I said, I am smoothing out these kinks in case you want to make this pattern, because it in general is a good pattern and it will sew up quickly, but you have to know these things within the instructions before you can actually make it. So I will move on to the next thing. What did I like about this pattern? I love the shaping of the jacket. I love it. I love that it's a wrap jacket because you can actually wear it as like the main piece of your garment versus as a layer, and it covers you up really good. I love the sleeve options and definitely the shawl, which is the whole point of why I purchased this type of jacket, because I am really attracted to that style. So Love it. So what did I dislike about the pattern? The verbiage within the instructions. They need to learn that we call that stitching and machine stitching stay stitching, and we don't say outside of the fabric and inside of the fabric. We say right side of the fabric and wrong side of the fabric. Okay, you got a sister confused, and I didn't like that. I have seen stay stitching written in instructions, so I need the new person or the intern to get retrained and type it in the right way. Okay, we don't want to go through this anymore. So did I learn any new techniques? No, I've done all of these techniques before. I did have a first time experience. This was the first time that I have actually made a wrap jacket, although I have made a wrap top, and this was constructed the same way. I actually have made 2 wrap tops. I made one during the Me Made Holiday Fashion Show series, and I've made the Tacoma top, which the Tacoma top is very similar as far as how it was constructed. This is also my first time sewing with this type of fabric, which is black French terry. I've worked with terry, but not French terry. It is very soft, and I absolutely love it, and it has good stretch to it, that it's not super floppy or super stiff. And you know, but the one thing I will say is that it does catch snags easily, but I wouldn't change it. I still really like it. And I picked black because black can go with almost anything as an overlay. And although I am sewing for spring, like I said, I picked black because it can go in almost anything, and I can wear it to the office during the summertime, you know, when the temperatures and the inside of the building are very cold because of the AC and all that stuff. But although I made this black, you know, because black can sometimes look plain, wouldn't this be sharp if I made this in like a leopard stretch fabric, like a leopard knit or a cherry red or like a tiger print? I mean, you have to look beyond the line drawings and some of the solid fabrics. But yeah, this is, I really like it. I did purchase this fabric from Joann Fabrics, and the buttons that I use are just some buttons that I've already had. I think they're called the Lamode brand that's at Joann Fabrics. I just still have some in my stash. And so as far as alterations are concerned, yes, I did make an alteration. So the ribbon that you're supposed to cut to use as a closure for the inside only calls for 9 1/4 inches of ribbon. I needed more because I am larger in the belly area, and that just wasn't enough. And you know, it was just pulling at the jacket, and I didn't want the jacket to lose its shape because of that. So what I did was, at first I added ribbon to stretch over, but then I thought about the fact that when I eat, you know, it's going to be tight because ribbon does not stretch. So what I did is I sewed elastic on to the end of the ribbon, and then I made a loop at the end to wrap around the button as a closure, and that worked out better for me. That way, like when I eat or if I'm getting bloated or anything, the elastic will stretch with my body. So would I recommend this pattern to others? Yes, if you like this style of jacket, I would absolutely recommend this jacket to you. But I will warn you that it does not say anywhere within the directions or anywhere on the pattern that you need to use a fabric that is the same texture and same color on the inside and the outside. And the reason for that is because your front and your collar is all one piece, and it just flaps down. And so the wrong side, this here that's on top of me, is the wrong side of the fabric. And because it just lays on you, you make it one whole piece, then it just lays on you, and that is not stated. And my fabric is not the same on the right side and the wrong side. The right side of my fabric has texture to it, kind of like a washcloth, and the inside of the fabric is very smooth. Luckily the colors aren't extremely different, so it doesn't look bad, but I will say I was very annoyed by that too, because I didn't know that, and I would have picked a different fabric, because I do have fabric that is the same texture and the same color on the inside and outside, you know, because you got like rib knits that are like that, and some of the waffle knits are like that. So I had options. The other issue that I would want to warn you about is that the back where of the cape, there is a seam in the back, and that seam is the wrong side of the fabric, because this wrong side of the fabric is going to show. So I serged my edges, and I just didn't want serged edges showing. So what I did was I applied bias tape to my seam, and then I stitched that bias tape down flat. Because of that, I do have some other recommendations out there for very easy to sew, and they're actually probably take a quicker time than this did, even though this did not take much time at all to construct. But I do have some other jacket recommendations that are knit. So Rochelle's jacket is woven and mine is knit. So I'll be giving you those recommendations at the end in case you don't prefer this one, even though, like I said, I know I'm kind of being hard on the pattern, and it's because the instructions and all of that type of information just was not there. It was not solid. It was not, they just didn't give it. And I was kind of wondering about that, because this has been out for a year, and I looked this pattern up and no one has posted it. No one has like done a YouTube on it or anything like that. And it was surprising to me, because I think it's lovely, you know, and I can see different women wearing this of all ages. So I was just shocked. But I'm sure there's probably several people that have made this and they just put it down because they didn't know what it was saying, and it went into like the UFO pile. So this pattern came out in 2020, and you can purchase this pattern at Joann Fabrics. And if you are watching this on the day the video is posted, which is March 6th, 2022, the patterns are on sale for only 99 cents at Joann. So you can go run and get your copy for the low today. You can also purchase the pattern at Hobby Lobby and on the Something Delightful website. So yes, it's definitely available. And like I said, I am not trying to be negative, but the directions just weren't there. However, it does sew up beautifully. So now I will share with you a few more photos and clips of my wrap jacket. So overall, I do love my 3-piece wrap jacket, and even though I had difficulty with the verbiage within the directions, it was a lesson learned, and I still got my project finished without rushing, because I only had 3 pattern pieces to sew up, right? So please let me know what you think about this pattern and this wrap jacket in the comments below, and make sure that you take some time to go to Rochelle's channel to check out her make for today, because I am sure she came with the fire. I will go ahead and link to her channel and her Instagram in the description box below. And again, let me know what you think, and also make sure you participate so that you can win the prizes. And we will have prize packages on both channels, so you have an opportunity to win twice. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you already know what I'm getting ready to say. Take a pause for the cause and click the like button, and click the subscribe button and the gray notification bell so that you can be notified of future videos. And again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all of my new and returning subscribers for your continued support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.